Hi, I'm David, and I am a retail theft consultant, or if you prefer, a loss prevention professional. I've been doing this for quite a number of years. I even help people who have their shoplifting and retail theft questions. And I'm not talking about as retailers and how to protect their store. No, people like you who have been accused or caught of shoplifting, internal theft, your questions on civil demand, retail theft databases, and the like. But in an earlier video, I mentioned that I was going to talk about something referred to as like a bad stop. Um, it's a term used in the loss prevention field when a loss prevention officer or store employee or something makes something they call a bad stop. I'm going to explain what that bad stop is and how to prevent it. Okay, now a bad stop, you would think, okay, that's when you stop somebody who didn't steal anything. And yes, that's very, very true, but there's more to it than that. There's a criteria to follow. Different retailers have different criteria. I'm going to give you the generalized version of that criteria. But just because somebody was actually caught with the goods, caught shoplifting, doesn't mean it was a good stop. It could still very well hold up in court, and certainly you could fight this case. You can contact me or whatever, but sometimes the cost to fight the case is more than the cost to just plead out somewhere. But again, that's something you can email me about and ask me. I do answer questions via email, up to 5 questions. So it's not like you're going to get charged. There are certain questions I can't answer without charging you. The charges are nominal. They're not much, if at all. But again, you can email me. My email will be in the description of this video. Okay, I told you a bad stop is mostly when somebody stops anyone from shoplifting and they didn't steal the merchandise or don't have the merchandise. Let me explain that. Just because somebody does not have the merchandise does not mean they did not steal it. They could have dumped it, they could have passed it off to somebody. There's all kinds of things. And also, what could be considered a bad stop is when a loss prevention professional or an employee who's detaining somebody for shoplifting does so in a manner that is not in accordance with that particular store's criteria for stopping shoplifting. All right, there's a reason they have these rules. That's to avoid these bad stops, because these bad stops can result in lawsuits. Okay, I'm going to help you a little bit. I'm going to tell you some of the criteria that most retailers look for and demand, and I do mean demand, of their loss prevention staff and employees who stop shoplifting do. In fact, when I was a loss prevention manager for a major retailer, we had this thing called steps. The steps there were these 6 steps that you must have before making a shoplifting stop. I required all my loss prevention officers, when they were writing their reports, and all their reports had to come to me, and then I would send them to the district manager. But all the reports had to include those 6 steps. Now, I don't mean, oh, this is step 1, this is step 2. No. During their summary of the event, they had to identify these, or in other words, explain them somehow. I need to see all 6 steps in that summary, or I would ask them to rewrite it. Okay, now let's go through what some of that is. First case scenario is you must see the suspect select the merchandise. Here's why. Let's say somebody walks in with a store or with a bag from Walmart. And in that bag from Walmart is a pair of pants they bought. Okay, let's say you're watching your CCTV video and you have not seen the person come in, but you see them and you see them with this bag and you see them slide a pair of jeans into the bag. Okay, what just happened? Did they just steal a pair of jeans from your store? Not necessarily, because you did not see the beginning of it. You did not see them select the merchandise. All you saw them do was slide a pair of jeans into the bag. Okay, what could have happened here? Yes, they could have taken a pair of jeans and slid it into the bag that they plan on stealing. They also could have brought that pair of jeans in from Walmart since it was a Walmart bag, to match against something else they wanted to buy. And if you made a stop on that and they produce a receipt or proof that they purchased that at Walmart, you have in essence created a bad stop. And in many cases, the employee is fired for a bad stop. Sometimes they're just retrained and they lose their ability to make shoplifting stops. But in a lot of other cases as well, they are fired. Okay, do you really want to lose your job over this? No. Okay, so you must see them select the merchandise. All right, and when you see them select the merchandise, you must know it is the property of the store. If they select something and let's say you're in Walmart and you see them select something, but that something they selected and put in their bag belongs to a different store, why it's there, who knows? It doesn't. So you must know it belongs to the store itself. All right. Here, the next thing, and this is one that a lot of loss prevention professionals have problems with. Why? I don't know. But you must never lose visual contact with the subject. Now, that can be use of a camera, that could be use of your eyes versus a partner's eyes, but you must not lose visual contact. If you lose sight of this individual for even a moment, they could put the stuff back, they could dump it, they could pass it off to somebody else. But if you have visual contact on them, either with your own eyes, with another loss prevention officer's eyes, with a CCTV camera, or combination thereof, then you'll know whether they passed the stuff off, dumped it, hit it, whatever they did. So you must never lose sight of the subject. So if you see the person, you have seen them select the merchandise, you know the merchandise belongs to your store, then at that point in time, somebody should probably be on the floor or get on the floor if you're in the camera room and start following this individual. Follow them from a distance, not letting known you've been following them unless your intent is to do what they call a burn, and that would be to scare them so they dump the stuff and they leave and there's no shoplifting arrest and they can come back and try another day, or they can say, oh, I'm not stealing from here, they're on to me. Either way, never lose sight of the person. You lose sight of them, they could pass it off, they could dump it, they could hide it, they could change their mind, and you in essence go to make a stop, and what happens? Bad stop. No. Never lose sight of the subject. Okay. Now, some of these things, laws vary by state. So let me go back to that. Some states, all you have to do is conceal merchandise for it to be a crime. In other states, that's not the case. So you need to know your state's shoplifting laws. And if that's not part of your company's criteria, it needs to be. Okay? Because if you come from, let's say you're a loss prevention officer and you've always lived in a state where concealment is a crime all by itself, and you go and make a stop, let's say in a state where concealment is not a crime, and you make a stop, you have yourself a bad stop. Okay, so in some states, taking a piece of gum and putting it in your pocket is not the crime. The crime comes when you exit the store, or something similar to that, and we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so what's next? The next step would be, and I'm rushing through these, and some of them, like rushing, knowing the state shoplifting laws. You must see them select the merchandise. You must know the merchandise belongs to them. You must never lose sight of the individual. Okay. The next one, and this is again where laws vary, but we're just going to go with a generalized thing, because even stores where concealment's a crime, a lot of times they follow this too because it's safer. Somebody could put something in their pocket and change their mind and put it back, and you stopped them, and maybe you didn't have to, because it's a long process to process a shoplifter, especially if you're sending them up to be contacted by the police rather than just issue a civil demand and send them on and ban them and send them on their way home. Anyway, they must pass the last point of sale. Okay, that generally means that when the individual who now has the merchandise that you know belongs to the store, you saw them select, you know because you've watched them the entire time, still has it on him or her past the last point of sale. And that would be the last register. Now, many employers prefer that you wait till they exit the store. And that is probably still wise because what if the individual dumps the stuff right before the exit, changes their mind? Not likely at that point, but what if they do? Okay, it's wise, and again, it's going to be up to your employer or your store to decide what. Not only should they pass the last point of sale, but exit the store. Now, some stores have double doors. Stores, mostly these are stores like J.C. Penney and Sears and stuff like that. They have a set of doors, and then they have a little area that's just a blank area, and then they have another set of doors. Generally, once they go through the first set of doors, you can make your contact with them, identify yourself as a loss prevention professional or whatever means your employer gives you to identify yourself, and ask them to come back with you into the store, or whatever manner they decide to do. Okay, now some stores are more aggressive than others. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's fine. Okay, this is how you avoid a bad stop. Okay, I gave you a lot of forensics there, but that's what a bad stop. A bad stop isn't always a stop where you don't find the merchandise. And like I said, if you followed the steps that I just gave you, I didn't number them or label them or anything, but if you followed the means I just gave you, you can't have a bad stop. And what's best for you to do, if even a tiny, tiny little bit, there's something in the back of your mind that says, did I lose sight of that person for a second? Did they really select that? Okay, if you're not sure, even the tiniest bit, let it go. Okay, I know some stores, and yes, Sears, I'm talking about you, they encourage high numbers of shoplifting arrests. They don't call it quotas or anything, but if you don't get, however many a month shoplifting of arrests, you go back for retraining. And I understand why they do that, because shoplifting happens on a daily basis. As I mentioned before, nationally, $15 billion a year are lost in shoplifting alone. So there's somebody generally shoplifting almost any time of the day or night in any store. So, they require that you did. I don't even know if I want to use the word require, but anyway, they expect you to get so many shoplifting stops. That encourages bad stops. I don't like that. I've never liked that. I've never agreed with that. In fact, I have never worked for a company that does that for that exact reason. It encourages cowboys. That want to hook them and book them, and encourages more bad stops. People start to let things go that maybe they shouldn't. Oh, did I really see them select that? But they go ahead because they don't want to get fired because they didn't meet the expectations of the store. So, okay, avoid bad stops. It's not hard. If you follow the things that I just told you, you can't make a bad stop because you're going to know that the merchandise. You know they selected the merchandise off your sales floor. You know that the merchandise belongs to the store. You have kept constant visual contact on them, so you know that they have not dumped the stuff, hidden it, passed it off, or anything else. And then once they passed the last point of sale or exited the store, you know they have no intent to pay for the merchandise that they now have with them, and you can make your shoplifting stop. Now, I don't encourage aggressive stops. I know there's a lot of loss prevention officers that do that. Hey, give me back my stuff. They don't say stuff. I don't do that. I have a very high success rate of peaceful stops. That's where people don't flee, they don't fight, or anything else. Why? Because I remain courteous and professional even when making a stop. Say, oh, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry. I think there's a problem with some merchandise. You mind coming back into the store with me, and we'll see if we can get this straightened out. Now, they probably already know what's going on, but a response like that is going to get a more positive reply than, hey, you, give me back my stuff. Or grabbing somebody. Never put your hands on a shoplifter unless obviously some retailers don't permit you to do that, but never put your hands on a shoplifter if you don't have to. Okay? If the person is not fleeing, fighting, pushing, threatening you in any way, you don't need to. All you need to do is politely ask them to come back into the store, possibly stand in the way of their progress to go back to where they need to go. Know your employer's policy on hands-on. Know your employer's policy on pursuits. Some don't want you to touch them. Some want you to can only let you get a limited amount of physical contact. Other stores will say you can't pursue somebody past a certain point. I I literally know somebody who chased somebody all the way to another store, which was probably a half mile away, running through a dirt field, running into another store. Now they caught the person, but that was not a very smart plan. It was a very poor plan. It could have went very bad for the individual, especially when they went back into the other store, because he had to find the person in the other store, and he could have lost. Well, he definitely lost sight of him. He had to find him in the other store. So that was a bad stop, even though they got the merchandise back and everything worked out well because he did steal. But technically, it was a bad stop. Okay, so if you follow these measures, as I said, you can't make a bad stop. And it's always best to just go in the direction of letting it go if you're not sure of anything. If you're not sure about the selection, if you lost sight of them for a brief moment, anything that comes up that you think makes you second guess, your best option is just to let it go. If your employer does not like that, then I feel sorry for your employer. I also feel sorry for you if you get into trouble. But again, you're going to get into worse trouble if you make a bad stop. Stores really frown on this because it generally can wind up in a lawsuit. I can say, hey, you stopped me, you owe me. I mean, worst case scenario, what if they have to give them a gift card or cash or something to shut them up? It may have cost more than what they stole. It might have been better just let them steal. I know a case where there was a bad stop, and there was an insinuation, and somebody played the race card, and it may have applied, may not, because I didn't see the thing, and it cost them $500 in a gift card. And the item that they were worried about being stolen was less than $20, and it cost them $500. Yeah, $500 and a gift card for that. So yeah, it's not worth it. That person got themselves into some trouble. They got written up, and I don't know what else happened exactly. But I do know that event, and it did occur. It did not happen to me. It was somebody I worked with. The place where I worked, the event happened before I got there, and I saw the results once I was there. It was happened like a few days before I got there, or a week before I got there, and I was privy to some of the information once I got to know everybody. Okay, this is what a bad stop is. If you think you were stopped for shoplifting and you think the stop was a bad stop, or you think maybe they violated policy, if you think that's going to get you out of a shoplifting charge, it probably isn't. You're best to ask a lawyer about that. But when you do that, again, as I said earlier, the cost to fight the case may be more than what it would cost you for the fines and whatnot. So it's up to you on what you want to do, and you can certainly email me. Like I said, my email will be in the description of this video. So you can go that route as well. But that's what I advise you to do, is follow these steps. Know that each employer that has a shoplifting department or has a loss prevention department is going to have steps, or whatever they call them, criteria for making a shoplifting stop. Make sure you know them. Like I said, the simple ones are seeing the selection, keeping a constant eye on the person, knowing that it's the store's merchandise, knowing they passed the last point of sale, and everything else I mentioned. I'm rambling now. Okay, follow these steps. You won't make a bad stop. You'll be able to continue with your employment if you're a loss prevention professional. If you're a shoplifter, this is what they must have. I'm not trying to help you shoplift. What I'm trying to do is let you know what they need to do. So maybe this will deter you from shoplifting. I don't want you to shoplift. If you've shoplifted, I will certainly help you as much as I can if you want to email me with your questions. But my goal isn't to teach you how to shoplift. My goal is to educate you so you don't shoplift, and so the rest of us don't have to pay higher prices because of shoplifting, or that the staff of these stores don't see their hours cut or their benefits cut or even some of their jobs cut and help pay for the cost of shoplifting. Alrighty, you have a nice day. My name is David. I am a retail theft consultant.